Dasher, Donner, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Blitzin, Rudolph, and now Tijjani is the 10th reindeer I actually give a shit about. Tijjani, the blue-nosed reindeer, he's gonna score us lots of goals. And if you ever saw him, it's the midfield he controls. Tijjani, the blue-nosed reindeer. I tell you what, we better sign him after this because I've just made an absolute knob of myself. Make sure you're hitting that like button and subscribing if you are new, because you are not getting content like this anywhere else. That's a guarantee. I'm sure some of you will be like, I'm not sure I want to get content like this anywhere else, Johnny. You seem unwell. You seem like a very unwell individual. But Tijjani Reijnders, he doesn't seem like an unwell individual. He seems like a very good footballer. And we're going to talk about why Manchester City are targeting. Now, this report originally came out yesterday from Mike McGrath of The Telegraph. AC Milan bracing for a £57 million bid from Manchester City for the services of Tijjani Reijnders. Now, Fabrizio Romano immediately came out and confirmed this report to be true. So while some of you might be going, Mick McGrath, I'm not sure I trust that as a source. A lot of you do trust Fabrizio Romano. Now, this is what he had to say regarding Tijjani Reijnders.
We can confirm the report from the Telegraph today. Tijjani Reijnders is in the short list of Hugo Viana, new Manchester City director at Manchester City. So, Reijnders is really appreciated by Man City. He's a player they really like. My understanding is that Manchester City this summer want to sign a number 10 and a number 8, so an offensive midfielder and a creative player. That's why Florian Wirtz is the dream target, but Bayern are still the favorites on this deal. That's why Gibbs White is a player they consider a lot internally at Manchester City in terms of number 10. Tijjani Reijnders as number 8 is seen as a fantastic solution. But for AC Milan, he's a really important player. The price will not be a little because I see some reports on the price. But for Milan, the price of Tijjani Reijnders would be a really huge price. And it's yet to be seen whether Milan want to sell the player or not.
Now, I think the price tag's actually an interesting aspect there that Fabrizio Romano dodged around the figure, actually didn't give any indication as to what the fee's going to be for Tijjani Reijnders. I'm going to keep calling him Reijnders. I know it's Reijnders, but we're going to call him Reijnders. That's happening. That's happening. You're going to have to deal with it, unfortunately. But the price tag being 57 million is the Mick McGrath report in the Telegraph. So that would equal AC Milan's record sale, which was Kaká to Real Madrid for 57 million. I was surprised at that alone. I would have expected some bigger fees coming out of AC Milan, but you factor in the inflation and the fact that their players in recent years haven't quite been that level of Kaká, but I mean, still, an interesting figure. One thing that needs to be brought to your attention is the contract situation for Tijjani Reijnders. Now, 2030, and he signed a new contract 2 months ago. In March 2025, he signed a new contract. So 57 million for a player that's contracted until 2030, I think's a very, very good deal if we were to get it close to 57 million. I wouldn't be surprised if AC Milan ask for north of 70 for a player of this quality. And we're going to be talking about why Manchester City are targeting him right now, in fact. But I wanted to bring it to your attention that he's contracted until 2030. So I'm not sure how easy this one's going to be for Manchester City to get it over the line. Now, Gibbs White was brought up there by Fabrizio Romano as well. And City, he mentioned a creative player and a number 10. And what's the difference for me? I feel like the two go hand in hand, do they not? Now, I think Reijnders is definitely a Gundogan replacement for me. Now, have a look at this heat map here. As you can see, the actual heat maps of İlkay Gundogan and Tijjani Reijnders here. So there really isn't much difference between the two. A tendency to drift towards the left a little bit. Gundogan's a little bit more filled out. I think that shows a little bit more mobility, if anything, which is interesting considering Gundogan's age. But Reijnders is very much taking up the same positions. There's not too much difference between the two heat maps and therefore must be targeting him as a number 8. I think City could be looking at a 4-3-3 system here with two number 8s either side of Rodri. Kind of similar to how Arsenal have Declan Rice and Odegaard with Partey in between the middle, and in summer it's going to be Zubimendi, of course. I think City could have something similar, and if that's going to be Gibbs White on the other side of Rodri with Reijnders on the opposite side to Gibbs White, it's okay. I like Reijnders more than I like Gibbs White, but the idea that this is going to be the number 8 and City is still targeting a number 10, that squashes a lot of what Manchester City fans have been saying lately, that Gibbs-White is not the alternative to Florian Wirtz. Well, according to Fabrizio Romano, that is going to be our number 10, apparently, which for me suggests he might not be the number 10. It sounds like a double 8 system more than anything. We could see the 4-2-2-2 system that Manchester City have employed in recent weeks, or we could see a 4-3-3. Which, again, I'm open to the suggestions and I want you guys to get in the comments below. But this, for me, is why Manchester City is signing him. Now, the song at the beginning of the video, the stupid reindeer song, was about scoring us lots of goals. Now, you can see why Manchester City are targeting him. He is in the top 4% of midfielders in the big 5 European leagues for goals. In terms of shots, in the top 3%. Shots on target, he's in the top 2% of midfielders in the big 5 European leagues. And I think that's really, really interesting to see that we are getting a goal-scoring midfielder, something Gundogan has not done in recent weeks. For Manchester, well, the whole season, really. You compare the previous version of Ilkay Gundogan before he went away to Barcelona, the treble-winning Gundogan, and the Gundogan that left us was a box-crashing, goal-getting Ilkay Gundogan. This season, the goal output, the goal involvement has just not been there for Ilkay Gundogan. Now, Tijjani Reijnders absolutely delivering in that department. Now, you focus on his possession. I think we're getting a ball carrier, so progressive carrying is in the top 9% of midfielders. In terms of progressive carries overall, he's in the top 3%. So he loves to move with the ball. Once he gets it at his feet, he will carry it and carry it far, which is an intricate detail to Manchester City's midfield that City have been focusing on in the last few transfer windows for me. If you look at the players that we have brought in, especially further upfield with Doku and Savinho, ball-carrying midfielders that is not just all about ball retention and keeping the ball with a high percentage of passing accuracy. You're looking at players that can carry the ball and actually physically move past players. And he's got a turn of speed, Reijnders. He's a big 6-foot midfielder that can carry the ball and score goals. Now, people saying, oh, what? I want him as a 6. I want him to have that versatility as a 6. Now, he has played as a 6 at times for AC Milan this season. But you actually look at his defensive numbers, not that impressive at all. Pretty poo, actually. Pretty poo, to be honest. Challenges lost, which is the number of unsuccessful tackles you've attempted, is in the top 8%. So one of the worst tacklers in Big 5 European leagues, but in terms of all the positive stats, in terms of what you want from a defensive contribution to a midfield, he is very, very low in terms of his defensive qualities. So in terms of a number 8, he is very much leaning closer towards a 10 than a 6. If you are going to call him an 8, I don't think you're going to get much defensive responsibilities out of him, because I don't think, as the stats have proven, he can't do that job as well. And if you put Rodri in there, maybe he doesn't have to. I keep likening it to the Arsenal situation, because the Zubimendi deal for Arsenal I think is an interesting one, because I think that frees up Declan Rice. With that in mind, Rodri being in that midfield would free up Tijjani Reijnders and let him go forward and express himself at the other end of the pitch and be a bit more of a goal-getting midfielder, which is why I think Manchester City are signing him, because we have just been missing goals from our midfield this season. There's no two ways about it. We've been heavily dependent on the front players to get goals, and having a midfielder that can chip in will be a massive, massive contribution to Manchester City. But if this is an alternative to Florian Wirtz, it's still not dead, the Florian Wirtz deal, but for me, I think it's almost there. I think we're almost out of the race. Bayern are clearly the favourites. I have a feeling we're not going to be able to get Florian Wirtz, so we have to shift our attention. It could be Xavi Simons on the other side of Rodri and Reijnders on the other side of Rodri, which to me excites me. But would you be happy with Gibbs-White, Reijnders and Rodri? Would you prefer another player to Gibbs-White? I personally would. I'd like to see Xavi Simons, Reijnders and Rodri as a midfield 3. Would you like to see a completely different system? Let me know in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now.